Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BUSR Summer Series. The iRacing in Assetto Corsa series have taken centre stage during this week and this evening. The F1 circus kicks off, and we are finally on a brand new F1 game. We start this 6-race Summer Series at one of the most historic races on the calendar, and one with the most overly complicated name. Now, I'm going to have to take a deep breath for this, and I've been practicing. It is the Formula One Qatar Airways Gran Premio del Made in Italy, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, better known to you and I as Imola. Alongside me in the virtual commentary box this evening, we have Doom. How are you, my friend?
I am very good, thank you. Totally didn't just rush off to have dinner like 2 seconds before we started this, but yeah, I am very excited for this. Imola is actually one of my favorite tracks. I have to say it's very fun to drive, and I forget the name of the corner. There's that little bit where it dips and goes off to the right. That has a lot of potential for a lot of incidents, and I love that.
Yeah, it's a brilliant track, and unfortunately, obviously, weren't able to go there in real life for 2023 with the awful flooding that took place earlier in the year. But hopefully, we can provide some action to kick off this brand new season on the brand new game, of course. And what are your thoughts of the brand new game?
I mean, my thoughts initially were that it looks a bit better than the old game, and the old game was already looking pretty good. The ray tracing has made a lot of improvements in the last year, in my opinion. But what surprised me the most was the performance. It actually runs pretty good. Like, I'm very surprised. So hopefully you'll be able to see that today of just how much better it can look and the performance that it has. I haven't had a chance to actually drive it yet, so I don't know about the controls. Maybe you know a bit?
Yeah, I've got some decent experience on the game so far. Obviously, I can only comment from someone using a wheel with assist off, but I think massive step up physically. To drive, it's just so satisfying. Silverstone, obviously, we're not there this week, but fantastic track. Imola as well felt really nice. The curb's so much more forgiving, so I think we could be in for a really good race. And tyre wear as well. I'm sure we'll mention it during qualifying and during the race. Tyre wear, big changes. I think strategy is going to be very important.
Yeah, strategies. We've seen a lot of good strategies come out from our drivers in the past. I wonder what they'll come up with today. From our understanding, because of some issues with the equal car performance setting, we will be using the F1 World Cars today, which may give us some interesting things throughout the race. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an EA Sports game without a few bugs in there. We don't have red flags on as well. That brand new feature that was put on the pedestal by Codemasters and EA. I think it's the initial bug, which was enormous, made it unplayable, is fixed. But I think every time a safety car comes out, you get a red flag now. And I'm not sure when that's going to be patched in, so we'll have to wait for that. But Imola, we don't have a lot of data to go off, actually. And what I would normally do is read to you some previous winners. But we didn't come here on last year's game, so we have to go off the 2021 times, which may not be most representative. So the poll time then was a 1:14.4. I think maybe we could be looking at similar times, low 15s. I think you want to be in the 14s, mid to high 14s. Yeah, 4.9 kilometer track, 19 corners. Qualifying is it's a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what's the real time? The real record time on that again?
F1 lap record came in 2021, 1:15.484. That's the race lap record set by Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how close we get to that. Anyone using the soft tyres later on in the race will probably have fancy their chances at beating that record.
Yeah. It's always a bit easier to actually beat the real life records in these games, which I find to be a bit unfortunate because I think it should be a little bit slower, but at the same time, it also goes to show that the skill that some of these sim racing drivers can have to challenge real life records.
Definitely, yeah, and I think especially with all assists off on this game, is so satisfying, so rewarding when you pin it through a fast left-right chicane, which we've got a lot of on this track. If I just get the track map up here, we've got Tamburello chicane. We've got Villeneuve as well. Variante Alta, a little bit more slow speed chicane. Yeah, brilliant lap. And we're going to get into qualifying in just a few moments, I believe, to get this session underway. We don't know what the weather's like either, so you will find out at the same time as us. Hopefully, maybe a bit of weather in there to spice it up. Who knows?
Currently, it looks like it's going to be nice and sunny for qualifying. That's just me sitting in the lobby here. So, I don't know, something could change still. But, yeah, weather could play a big factor into this race today. This is probably, in my opinion, this was probably one of the circuits where weather would play more of a role with some of the slightly tighter corners.
Yeah, I think we could see quite a big disparity in lap times during the race. We saw that actually in the real life race in 2021. We had intermediate conditions to start the race. Field spread was pretty big, and it dried up later on. And we got a pretty exciting finish. So hopefully we get something similar. And then last year's race as well started off wet as well, and went back to the dry. So if we're looking at symmetry, maybe we're going to repeat that in this race. But we'll have to wait and see as we prepare to get going. What are your memories of the Imola Grand Prix? Obviously, it started in 1980. I doubt you'll be able to remember quite that far.
Yeah, I don't think I'll remember quite that far. I probably don't have the ability to look into the past before I was born, but to be honest, I don't have that many memories. I only really got into watching the F1 in the last couple of years, and obviously this year we haven't been able to see it, unfortunately. But it's always been a fairly interesting race. I enjoy the Italian circuits a lot. So for me, this is one of the ones I really enjoy watching.
Yeah, for me, it's thinking back, obviously, not watching it live, but that epic battle between Alonso and Schumacher 05 and 06. Then we lost it. It was the Italian Grand Prix in 1980. Then we went to the San Marino Grand Prix from 1981 to 2006, and it was dropped off the calendar until the COVID year, 2020, when it came back as the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. 2021, standout race. 2022, it was okay. I don't think we'd say it was a barnstorming race, but yeah. Some good memories in the past, obviously some not so good memories at this track, but hopefully we're in for a good one today.
Yeah, and it looks like we're about to head into qualifying. Give it a minute or so.
Should we get some predictions in? Who are you backing this evening to get pole position? Obviously, new game. People, the pecking order may change. We have got some of the usual suspects coming over. I think I'm going to go for a safe bet in Matti Mumu personally, who you can see is number one at the moment at the top of our timing charts. We wait for the first car to come out on track.
I mean, yeah, you say Matti Mumu has a good chance here. Deadeye has been one of the top drivers in the past, as he leaves the server.
Perfect.
But yeah, Dasher, Cherokee, really top drivers. Geek, another fantastic driver.
Yes.
There could be a lot happening today.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, we've got the player car liveries on, so it might be a little bit harder for us to distinguish between who's who, but we're going to do our very best as everyone filing out of the pits early on in this session. 17 minutes to go. I think it was Cherokee first out on track. And yes, like you said, bright sunny skies, so we should be in for a dry session, qualifying at least.
Right, trying to see who's who where. I'm not sure what's going on with the colors on the mini map there. A lot of black dots.
Yeah,
Is that
we're gonna have to not use the mini map as much as we potentially could do if we did have the normal cars. I think it's based on like the first or the primary color for your livery, but then that might not be the most prominent color. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a bit confusing. I used to rely on it quite a bit to know who to switch to in case something happens.
Yeah.
So this will be quite challenging.
I think Jaraki was the first out on track, I believe.
Yes, he
We
was.
cut to him now, yes. So I think we'll go for a flying lap with Jaraki. I'd like to say what car he's in, but we're gonna have to stick with the interesting assortment of colours of a sort of tealy greeny colour and a pink as we come across the start finish line now to begin the lap. Going through the kink at turn 1 doesn't really count as a corner in these generation of cars, but it's down there, so we have to include it. Turns 2, 3 and 4 through the Variante Tamburello. Beautifully done, actually, taking the curves nicely as we go through turn 4 and up to the Villeneuve chicane and the first sector split. We'll see what that sector time is as we go through. A little bit deep going through turn 6 as we come up to the loop at Toes. We've got a yellow flag. It's a 24.2 for the first sector. I'm not sure how competitive that will be. We'll have to see when everyone gets their laps in. Going through another kink at turn 8 into the Piratella now. Beautiful corner, 5th gear. Try not to track extend on the outside. It's very difficult as they come through another kink as well. And into Aqua Minerale. Be very careful on the exit. You can see those dangerous, deadly sausage curves as you come out. And now into the Variante Alta. You got that wrong. 50.1 through the second sector. Nicely done. Does avoid the massive sausage curves on the inside. As we come up now to the final couple of corners. Into Ravazza, 3rd gear, takes it in 4th actually, trying to get the traction on the exit around the final corner. Nicely done as we come up to the line. What is the time going to be? First time of the session from Jaraki. It is a 1:15.6. That is our benchmark as Charles Simmons goes in about 0.8 of a second behind.
Yeah, so that's pretty decent time from my understanding, but it's almost immediately beaten by CT. A little bit quicker, 0.2 quicker there. We're just watching Matty Mumu here about to come across the line.
Good lap, I think this has been. Yeah, 15.1 takes or pushes the benchmark up by 0.3. Mad Dog goes into second, a couple of tenths back. We wait for Geek and Dasher, who we expect to be towards the front as well. Joe also, who I think is disconnected from the session. This is Dylan Fernando, who I believe is a new driver to the scene. Coming up to Aqua Minerale now. How's it going to be? Avoid the sausage curve on the inside nicely. And it's a pretty decent line through there. May have track extended. Well, actually, I see that the minimap is bright red, so he must have track extended at some point. It's very easy to do around this track, isn't it?
I'm not sure who's coming up next. Is it Jaraki again? Yes. Oh, he's going to the pits. Never mind.
Yeah, I doubt we're going to see too many double push laps because the tyre wear is a little bit savage. The drop-off is extremely harsh, and I think these tyres are only going to be good for one flying lap. It'll be interesting to see if anyone wants to save a set of soft tyres for the race. We're expecting people to do 3 runs in this session as Geek pops himself into 3rd place on a 1:15.3. Nice banker lap for him. Mad Dog, we would expect, coming back into the pits, and he was a 1/3 of a second down on his Delta going through the first couple of sectors. First flying lap's done. It looks like my prediction at the start of the session for Matty Mumu at the top seems to be a pretty decent one.
Yeah, but it's far from the end. We've got Geek and Mad Dog up there, not far behind, who will almost only be going again in just a moment, to try to beat that time.
Yeah, I'm expecting us to get well into the mid to high 14s, having seen the first runs. Doodle on the track at the moment. I think he's just gone 8th fastest with a 16 flat, about a second down. Well, he is actually half a second up on his first sector split, so I think we'll try and stick with this if we can go on board if possible. Actually, you can see as Matty Mumu's retired from the session. Not sure what's gone on there. I don't know where it's happened. CT's retired as well. Have we got a crash in the pit lane? Dasher's retired too, or Dasher's left. I think we may have had a lobby issue here.
I cannot see anything in the pits.
Well. I'm seeing a car stopped on the entrance to turn 1. Yeah, everyone's retiring. We're getting a lobby restart. Can we get a check on that? Yeah, quali restart. We've had a game bug, so you know, different game but same old glitches, unfortunately, with this game, which has so much potential, but that throws everything so far into the bin, and we're going to have to restart.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. Some pretty good lap times there at the start. Hopefully, on the restart, we'll see the same great lap times from the same people. Look at how shiny those cars are with the new ray tracing.
It does look good. It looks a lot more like real life, actually. If you on the T-cam, which is what I expect most of our drivers will be using, it looks a lot like the T-cams we see for the actual race. So I do actually really like that change we've made. Still 2 cars waiting, and there we go. So we are back to our lovely faces here, and we're going to have to try and fill for the next couple of minutes. Let me see what we've got prepared.
I mean, they are. It looks like they're already restarting the session.
Oh, we're into it that quickly. Okay, I thought we were
I'm not sure
we
if
could have a chat about.
I'm not sure if that's exactly what's happening, but that's what it looks like to me. Although some people are leaving the session, I don't know what's happening.
Well, let's have a real life F1 chat. Let's blend ourselves from the virtual world into the real life world. Did you watch qualifying this afternoon for the British Grand Prix?
I haven't yet. I will be watching the highlights after this.
No spoilers then. Okay.
Yes, no spoilers, please. Thank you very much.
Can you give me a top 5 prediction?
I mean, top 5
top
5
prediction.
prediction.
People watching that have already seen it are going to be. Yeah, we're going to be able to see how close you are.
All right. Well, I mean, Max Verstappen has to be up there, surely. Let's see. I'd be surprised if Lewis Hamilton doesn't manage to get into the top 5, but I did see Mercedes was having a bit of trouble during free practice.
Mm.
So that's maybe towards the higher end of the top 5. Williams looked pretty strong.
Yeah, Alex Albon did look great. I think he was top 3 in every practice session, which I don't actually remember the last time Williams did that. It must be, 2015, 16, probably all those years ago.
Yeah. So I think maybe Alex Albon could probably be in the top 5. Just barely. Fernando Alonso, I would expect. Yeah. And,
No Sergio Perez?
That's a tough one. It's either Sergio Perez or Carlos Sainz for me.
Well, Checo, going off the last 4 races, failed to make Q3, but knocked that in Q1 in, I forget where it was. He crashed in Monaco, didn't he? Knocked out in Q1 there. Missed Q2 in Canada. That was a poor one. Austria as well, with the track deletion, the track limit violations. 3 times in Q3. In Q2, sorry. So he is under pressure a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's if you take out Red Bull, right? I think it's a really good season because we've got Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin who look strong, Alpine looking pretty good. The upgrades McLaren have made seeming to pay off as well. Williams can mix it up there. Haas in qualifying as well can be really competitive. So if we just get rid of Red Bull and Max Verstappen, we could have such a brilliant championship.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting to see who's going to come second in the Drivers' Championship than who's going to win it, to be honest. I think that one has a lot more to offer in terms of entertainment.
Yes. Can Fernando Alonso, the rookie, the young driver Fernando Alonso, I think he's 23, 24 is, well, it seems like the way he's driving. If he can overhaul Perez, Hamilton not too far behind, Mercedes just seem a little bit inconsistent, and then Ferrari are Ferrari, so could turn up like they did in Austria, look really good. Could turn up like they did in Spain and be absolutely miles away.
Yeah.
How do we have any info on how close we're getting?
I think the lobby is preparing to start, so give it another 40 seconds to a minute until we can go into qualifying again.
Excellent. I'm going to stick with my prediction from earlier of Matti Mumu on pole. I don't know if you want to. I can't remember what you said. You said Dasher, I think it was, should be up towards the front.
Yeah, Dasher, Deadeye, and Geek were my favorites to be up there. Besides Matty is quite insane as well.
Yes, very good driver. Our reigning champion from last season, end of 2020 or the 22 game, was Dasher, I believe, if I can remember that correctly. See if anyone can take his crown off him. 6 races as well. Should we go through the calendar while we're waiting, or are we about to get underway?
I was just about to switch the scene.
Okay. Let's rejoin the action in Imola for take number 2 then.
Yeah, so at the moment everyone's just in the pits, probably putting their setups on. I think we may see a few drivers coming out now. Yep. Who do you think is out first? Who is that?
Rundle. Black car. That's all the information we can give at the moment. If we look at the timing charts, who is it going to be? Moment of truth. Who is this car in front of CT? If it is Rundle, I'm going to look like a genius. And it is Rogue.
It's Rogue. I mean, begins with R.
Yeah, it was close enough. Close enough. Ends in an E as well. Got a U in there.
Yeah.
So if we think back to the times we've got before, a lot of people would have managed to get warmed up with that first flying lap that I think most of the drivers in the session managed to get in. It was a 15-1 from Matti Mumu, so I'd be surprised if people aren't able to match that or even exceed that and go a little bit quicker. I'm going to stand by that prediction of a 14, let's say a 14.6 to take pole. Half a second, track evolution is going to be pretty important as the drivers get dialed in as well. Still a brand new game, so they might be able to find something in their driving style, but I gave us a lap of Jaraki for the last session. Would you like to go through an onboard lap?
I'm really bad at those. I never remember the names of the corners or anything.
Would you like me to take this one?
Yes,
again,
please.
then? Okay, as we come through the Rivazza on board. Do you like the new steering wheel, by the way? I think it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Nice little change we make as we begin the lap. If we can try and get the sector times in the top right, that would be very helpful as we go through Tamburello chicane. A little bit messy from Rogue to start off with. Not quite got the line right, and well, he was weaving a little bit coming out of there. Coming through Villeneuve now, clipping the apex nicely through turn 6 to get a pretty good run out coming up into Tozer. A 24.1, which was, I think it was pretty similar to a time we saw from Jaraki. That's a massive snap coming through Tozer. Just sort of drifted it through turn 7 as we come up through turn 8. The King came back through the Piratella. Nicely done. Keeps it in 6th gear rather than change it down into 5 to try and carry as much speed as possible. You can really attack it through Aqua Minerale. A little bit wide maybe through turns 11 and 12. Now coming up to the Variante Alta. How's he going to cope with these sausage curves? We saw Jaraki do it pretty nicely before, and I have to say it's done very nicely, keeping it in 3rd gear. I don't know if he's running manual or automatic, but if he was running manual, I agree with his gear selection. Coming up now to the final couple of corners as we come through the Rivazza. It's been an okay lap, minus a slightly messy first sector, and we're going to be able to see as we come up to the line with Rogue over the line, it is a 15.7. So we're probably expecting quite a few quicker times than that. He's got a bit of an advantage over the cars behind. Doodle goes half a tenth quicker with a 15.6. Jaraki into the 14, so he's already warmed up. 14.9 for him. CT I think got held up a little bit. There's Dasher with the 14.5. And that's already beaten the lap time I was predicting for pole, so he could be in the low 14s, which would be very impressive. And he's got 0.4 of a second nearly between himself and everybody else. Rundle into 3rd with a 15.3, just ahead of Alpha. Then Deadeye, Doodle, Rogue as Mad Dog pops himself up into 3rd. Time's coming in thick and fast at the start of this session. We've got a yellow flag. I think it's a red car at turn 1. That's the best I can give you at the moment, getting out of people's way. We wait for Matti Mumu and Joe. Geek into the 14.5s as well, just 0.04 of a second behind Dasher. Alpha taking the lawnmower line through turns 2 and 3. Yeah, we're pretty quick at this early stage. I thought we would be maybe mid-14s by the end of the session, but straight in there with these guys. Some of them didn't get a representative time, and that's a fast start to the session.
Yeah, that was a lot quicker than last session. We went almost a second quicker than last session, in fact, after just one lap.
Yeah, we found... Well, we'll have to see what Matti Mumu can do, because he was on provisional pole beforehand. I'm not sure where he is on track at the moment. Here he is. He is off track there. I'd be amazed if that isn't an invalidated lap time, even though the track map in the bottom right hasn't gone bright red. So I presume he's managed to keep it. ERS light flashing, so maybe he's backed out of it as well. Joe pops himself up into 5th. Matty moving into the pit. So there must have been a mistake on that lap somewhere that we weren't able to see. But that's not a good start. He had the ideal start in the previous session, but he's not been able to get his first banker, and that's going to be difficult. But he's a quick enough driver, and he should be able to rectify that in the remaining. Well, the yellow flag signs up, but I think it was about 12 minutes. Yes, 12 and a half minutes to go.
Yeah, that I just saw what I would say is the biggest improvement in an F1 game yet. The pit crew. They looked so real. The movement actually looked good. I cannot wait to see a pit stop.
Well, we'll have to be eyes on when people start boxing. Geek, it looks like he's going for a second push lap. Which is
I am trying to figure out who is where.
Trying to save the set of tyres. Joe taking the shorter route through the very anti-outer we saw there, and Geek, well, it said he was 21 seconds down there. I don't think that's true, and he's actually 3/4 of a second down. And if this was a second push lap, those tyres have absolutely gone, and he's going to have to get back to the pits for a new set of boots. I think Doodle did go for a second lap, and he did improve, going up to a 15.2. So, to be fair, there is a little bit of time left in the tyres if you manage to get that second lap in. And we've seen it there from Doodle, so it could be interesting to see what happens later on in the session. Geek, yeah, you can see a second and a half down, so that is going to bring to the end the first runs, as everyone comes back out on their new set of tyres, battery recharged, refueled and ready to go once more. 11 minutes to go.
Yeah, I personally think it's a better idea to try go for that second lap, because maybe something hindered your initial lap, but it's hard to tell with F1 tires because they degrade so much quicker than tires on like ACC, which is what I'm used to driving. So it is quite hard to tell, but they shouldn't be too much worse after just 2 laps, the out lap and then the push lap.
Well, I think the way the game works this year, and I could be wrong. I'm not an expert, not a self-proclaimed expert, but I think you got a very small percentage at the very start where the tyres are at their best. I think that's within the first 10% maybe. Then you have sort of 10 to 25 where the tyres are okay, but maybe 3 or 4 tenths slow. And then once you get past 25%, that's when you really start to feel the drop-off of those tyres. And it'll be interesting to see in the race. We could have people burning up their tyres too early on, dropping back as the stint progresses, and then vice versa, people saving their tyres early in the race and then making some inroads later on. It's going to be fascinating makeup. I think the strategy could provide a really interesting dynamic, as that was, I have to say, that was quite lazy from Dylan Fernando there, just running wide out of the final corner and validating this and the next lap. He's not going to be happy with that, because he has to come back into the pits, and that's going to cost him a bit of time. People on a lap at the moment. I believe it is Dasher. Dasher coming through the first sector at the moment. You can see the maroony kind of colour on the track map going through the first sector split now. We're on board with Alpha at the moment, currently in 8th on a 1:15.5, and we'll see what kind of improvement he can make. Do you think there's anyone particularly out of position at the moment? Obviously, Matty Mumu yet to get a representative or any lap time on the board. We'd expect him to be around where Dasher and Geek are at the moment. Geek looks like he's only going to be using 2 sets of tyres, so saving a set of softs for the race as Alpha comes through the first set split. We'll stay with this, just see what his improvement is, and it is, well, he's 1.3 seconds down.
Quite
so
far off.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, I think Deadeye is quite out of position. I'm used to seeing him like right at the top, but maybe he's fallen off in the last couple of seasons. Don't really remember. I don't really remember too much of his performance from last season, to be honest.
We were talking earlier about Dasher. Finds another 0.3 of a second, 14.2, fastest well, by over a third of a second. That is quite the margin for some of our drivers to have to contend with. Matimu was just done a 14.7, but I think it may have been invalidated because he didn't get that time in, unless it was an outlap.
I think that was his outlap.
And the spectator time is okay. The spectator time lying to me, so we're going to stay on board with this as we wait for some more lap times to be put in. In the meantime, first sector time for Matimu is a 23.8, so that's sort of 3 or 4 tenths quicker than what we were seeing from some of the guys earlier on. So it's definitely a good start to the lap, coming through what has to be actually my favourite section of the track, actually. Through Piratella and through to Acqua Minerale. So satisfying when you know it. You can carry so much speed, especially through Acqua Minerale. It's so good to drive.
Yeah, this section I was talking about earlier, that's my favourite bit right there.
Incredible track, it has to be said. Not always the best for overtaking as he goes purple through the second sector split. Dasher may be sweating slightly as Matimu comes through the final sector. There is a car in the way. Is he going to get blocked by the red car who pulls over to the side? No, he's not. As we go through the Ravazza now and onto the start-finish straight. Where is this? The first representative time of the session going to put Matimu up to the line now. Should be in the 14s. It's a 14.4 and still a quarter of a second down. But for what is an effective banker lap, he's got himself in a good position there. Front row of the grid. And with 6.5 minutes to go, we're getting back to the pits to get that final set of tyres on for the last push lap to complete the session.
Yeah, he has only one chance left, and he has a fair bit to go. 3/4 of a second, 1/4 of a second, sorry, is quite challenging in qualifying. Has to be said. So we'll have to see. And Dasher might go quicker yet. I'm sure he'll be trying again.
Even more time, yeah. If we get into the 13s, that would be an incredible effort, I have to admit. That would be, not too far off F1 esports base, maybe sort of 8 tenths of a second or so. So that's really impressive pace. Mad Dog up to the line finds an improvement, just under a quarter of a second to move into the top 5. If we look further down, as CT is currently a second up, but that's going to be invalidated as he mounts the curves on the inside and the exit of the corner. But looking down the field, Joe a little bit out of position, I would say. Expect him to be a little bit higher up than 8th. Obviously our not vice champion, I can't think of the word. Runner-up last season was Joe at the end of the 22 game cycle. And he's quite far off, it's over a second down. You'd like to think he can find that time in this run. That car will hopefully peel into the pits and does. So we're going to see what Joe can manage. Looking through though, the gap from Jaraki down to down to Rogan 13th, only 8 tenths of a second. And with the track evolution, new tyres, getting a final flying lap in, I think that we could see some flip-flopping from 4th down to the back of the pack. And to be fair, Dylan Fernando only a 10th further back as Joe finding just a 10th through that first sector, but he is purple, so it must have been a mistake on that previous lap, which is why he's down the order. Where do you think? I reckon he's gonna go second, slot into that nicely neat little gap between Dasher and Matimu at the front.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to slot into. Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's pretty late to be going for a final time, but he is only 3.5 tenths up now, and I'm not sure how his final sector was on his previous lap, so maybe struggling a little bit through the high-speed corners, which is why he's down the order. Coming into the final couple of corners through the Ravazza, we've got a yellow flag in sector 1. I think somebody might have just gone off at the Tamburello chicane, but this is the one we're looking at, and Joe into the pits. So not happy with the lap, must have made a mistake somewhere in the middle sector, wasn't happy with it, and this is going to put quite a bit of pressure on his final lap because down in 8th, out of position, not the easiest track to overtake. Got to get a good lap in as Rogue jumps up from 13th, I think it was, into the top 10, nestles inside the top 10, just 400th clear of CT. 3.5 minutes to go there.
Jaraki on an invalid lap, unfortunately. Okay. Might not have enough time to do another one, but he's going to the pits.
Yeah, so this is going to be the final push laps, of course. Obviously, we don't quite have the data they have in real life about tyre sets, But, well, we might be able to look at the race director, actually. But Geek definitely has 2 sets of softs remaining. Alpha up to the line in the red, gold and black car. He improves by just under half a tenth to slot in. Look at that. Rogue, Alpha and CT separated by less than half a tenth in 9th, 10th and 11th, respectively. And then Joe just 800ths of a second up the road. Here's Deadeye, the person you were thinking could be one to watch for pole. Found a third of a second. Oh, that's a bit of a snap, though, coming through Aqua Minerale. We'll see what the delta time is going through the second sector split. 4 tenths up, purple in the middle sector. But that's still only going to be a second down. Got to find a lot of time in this final sector under a lot of pressure, because I don't think he's going to get another run in afterwards. We'll see what happens as we come through 16, 17 and now 18 through the Ravazza. Not looking too untidy. Look pretty clean actually up to the line. Where's Deadeye going to go? It is fourth. 14.6. Found, well, nearly 6 tenths of a second in that final sector, but still just under 4 tenths down. And I don't think he's going to get another lap time in.
Yeah, in the meanwhile, Dasher is on an outlap, but Matty is staying in the pits. I don't think Matty will have... Oh, no, Matty's now on an outlap as well. I was going to say, he might not have enough time if he stays in the pits for much longer. But let's see, will Charles Simmons improve? No.
Yeah, he did leave that quite late. I want to be on board with Geek, actually, if we can, because he has started his final flying lap. Currently third. Oh, there he is now. Dasher is the car behind, I believe. No, Dasher's the car coming up to cross the line now, so we'll be able to flick between drivers. Geek currently with a 14.5, just ahead of Deadeye, who set that time earlier. Got a yellow flag in the middle sector. Somebody going slowly. That might be Matty Mumu pulling out of the way of cars approaching as we see Geek flying through the Variante Villeneuve. Really committed, but he is a half a tenth down. So not finding the time in the first sector that you would expect. Can it be gained back through the middle sector? We'll have to wait and see. Track Evolution, will it be able to provide the time he needs? We've got another yellow flag in the middle sector. Cars getting out of the way. Could provide some challenges for people on a lap already. Less than a minute to go. So all of these laps have got to count. Geek, nicely done. This looked like a pretty clean lap so far. You can see the ERS light flashing though. So maybe he's backed out of it. Yeah, 2.5 seconds down. ERS light flashing. He's bailed on that lap. So he's going to have to go again. A lot of people bailing out of lap times. We're seeing some mistakes. It must be a little bit harder for people to hook it up. Let's have a look. If we can switch back to Dasher, you can see the traffic that he's potentially having to deal with. Yeah, he's backed off as well. 1.7 seconds down, it said there. Well, 11 seconds down, actually. So he's not got a lot of time to get to the flag. So some of these guys that did back off on their first push laps going to be under pressure to make it to the line.
Yeah, I reckon Dasher will be just about fine here, but anybody else behind him, not really.
Somebody's gone off at Tozer. You can see the yellow flag there. Someone in a black car's gone off at turn 7. I wonder if it is Matty Mumu, who's probably in that vicinity. Rundle is finished. He is done for the session, as is Mad Dog, who in 8th place is going to be pretty disappointed. But while we were watching that, some times did go in, though. Rundle up to 5th with his 14.6. Rogue is retired. And Matty Mumu's been invalidated. He is not going to be on pole. We're going to have to wait and see what Dasher and Geek and potentially the likes of Jaraki can manage. CT moving up into 6th, meanwhile, with that 14.9 time. Here's Jaraki now, coming up to the start-finish straight. What can he manage? And it's only P6. Might be a bit disappointed with that. Only half a tenth found on a 14.8. As Deadeye into the pits, I think that might be that. Joe's the only time that I'm still looking at. He's down in 11th at the moment. That'd be really disappointing if that's where he is. Half a second up, though, you can see there. This is the lap we've got to look at. Didn't have a great final sector on his flying lap as well. I'm not sure if it's purple. This is it, really. Dash, I don't think is going to be going again. Matty Mumu's not going again either. Geek has managed to get up into 2nd place. Joe is 4th, misses out by, well, just under a tenth separating 2nd and 4th. And that is going to be the end of the session. Dasher coming over the line now. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. And wow, you can see that in the top right. 1,000th of a second down on that previous best. 14.228 compared to the 2.27 earlier. But that is qualifying. And it's Dasher on pole with Geek 2nd, Matty Mumu, and Joe, who had a bit of a scruffy session, managing to recover it in the end to come home in 4th.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with my prediction of Dasher and Geek being towards the top.
Yeah, you've outdone me a little bit there. Matty Mumu invalidating that final flying lap. So unable to challenge really for pole position in the end. I don't know if he was up through the first sector or not. Might have been caught out by the yellow flags we saw from what I think might have been Rogue dropping it. But that is that for qualifying. Rogue and Games Geek on the front row. And that could provide a spicy start to this race.
So yeah, pretty interesting qualifying there. Did see a few maybe upsets even. Jaraki unable to get further than P7. Massimumu invalidating his final lap. But I am happy to see Dasher and Geek up there. They very much deserve it. Dasher's pace was very good there. It very consistent. If he can do that during the race, I think he has a very solid chance of winning.
Absolutely, yes. And it should be a very exciting race to come. But before that, I think we want to have a look at one of our partners who we are very proud to be supporting, and that is Special Effects. So we're going to run a small little video now just to show you what they're all about.
Nobody likes being left out. That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalised, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
An excellent organisation which here at BUSR we are very proud to be partnered with, though the tone slightly with the voice crack there, but yeah. Qualifying done, Dasher and Geek on pole. We've probably got the top 5 that we maybe thought we were going to get. Dasher, Geek, Deadeye, Joe and Matty Mumu. Are they going to be the main protagonists for the season?
I think that's quite a possibility, to be honest. We've seen a lot of various protagonists throughout the seasons that I've been here, and those 3 are like currently probably some of the best drivers that we have at the BUSR. I think they'll be battling it out pretty much every race.
Yeah, I hope we get an enthralling title battle like we got at the end of F1 22. If anybody remembers watching that, we're just waiting for the start of the race to get underway. People are going to be fettling with their strategies, maybe making a few last-minute setup tweaks. You can't do too much, but I think you can change front wing levels, tyre pressures and that. What do you think the strategy is going to be? Are we going to see medium hard? Are we going to see soft hard, soft medium? I think that would be brave. Maybe even a 2-stop. Who knows?
If we're doing a 1-stop, then a medium hard or hard medium would probably be the strategy. If it's 2-stop, then I think it's very much possible that we'll see, as the cars are going away. Of course, the lights are different for us, but they're out.
We are underway then, and it was a good start from Dasher at the front of the pack. I think it was a little bit of a slow one from Joe. Rundle getting a good start as well, passing Deadeye. It's down into turn 1 we go. Dasher clears. We've got a car around. I'm not sure who it is. It's a blue and white car, and we've got a big yellow flag. A lot of damage already. There's been absolute chaos in the opening. Well, I think it was just in the kink going through turn 1. We've got a virtual safety car. I think we've got a full safety car, actually. I can see the yellow dot in the corner, and I think that was 10 seconds. We got, yes, there's the confirmation, full course safety car. 10 seconds into the start of a brand new season, and we have a safety car, and that was chaos at the back. We see
it wouldn't be the BUSR
on Rogue with no front wing.
This wouldn't be the BUSR with no safety car.
Crazy start. I'm not really sure what happened. I saw the blue and white car, which I believe is Doodle getting tagged by someone through Tamburello. But yeah, that was crazy. Dasher, though, getting off to the ideal start. The top 4, as we were. CT has made up some places as well, though. I think he was starting from 7th or 8th down the order. So good start there. Doodle, obviously the big loser, was pretty decently placed. Dylan Fernando up 5, we can see there from the graphic. CT started from 8th up into 3rd, managed to avoid all of the carnage that was ensuing around him. Crazy start.
I want to watch Rogue do the pit stop because I want to see this new pit animation.
Let's have a look, see what's happened. Alpha into the pits as well. We've got, that looks a little bit messy.
That's a lot of people.
So, I think that looks like some people that don't normally play with pit assist turned off. Because we saw a lot of bunching up. But here we go. Here's your live pit stop for you. 5-second penalty to serve as well. Can we get your review? Here we go. Front wing goes on. Smoothly done, is it? Ratings out of 10?
I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Solid. Very solid. It'll be interesting to see what tyres these guys have gone onto. If we can get that up on the
let me try to remember what the control for that is.
There we go. So, big mix actually. Dasher's starting on the hard tyres. That makes his start all the more impressive because he would have been struggling for temperatures. Obviously, we have the reworked starting physics as well, which makes it a little bit easier to get the traction down. He's done very well to hold on. We've got Geek, Matimumu and Joe all on the medium. Do you think they'd want to get past the hard shod runner of Dasher fairly sharpishly? Going down to CT, Deadeye, Jareki and Dylan Fernando all on the hard tyres as well, copying the F1 Esports strats. Everyone starting on those hard tyres, and then everyone behind that has just pitted sticking on the mediums, with the exception of Rogue, who is on the hards, maybe trying to go to the end. I think the tyre drop off maybe a little bit too much for that, but it does look like a regulation medium hard or hard medium strategy.
Yeah, the strategy is more or less what I would expect. Rogue would probably be going to the end with that. It would be quite challenging, considering that the tire drop off is changed a bit for the number of laps we're doing, because we're not doing a full race. We're doing, what is it, 50% or something like that?
50%, yeah.
So tire drop off is twice as fast, presumably. So he effectively has to do 55 laps on the hards there. That's quite a challenge.
Yeah, and you can see there Rundle coming into the pits to put on a set of hards. I'm not sure what tyres he started on, but that was mainly just to clear his penalty that he picked up for speeding in the pit lane. So that's gone. No more penalties for any of our drivers. It'll be interesting to see how many track limits violations we get. Judging off qualifying, it might be quite a lot. As Matimumu is disconnected, that could be a bit of an issue if the safety car comes in this lap. Rundle might want to just slow down a little bit to try and force the safety car to stay out a little bit longer. And I can see, Mad Dog, people not happy about Mad Dog being caught up in that first lap collision as well, dropping down to 12th on those medium tyres now. It's going to be interesting to see what these guys can do. Hard tyre runners in front, who will be wanting to go very long into the race. They'll be trying to get past, as we see. Well, that was a bit of a lag spike as Matimumu joined. People going off all over the place. And maybe that was what caused our little tete-a-tete in turns 1 and 2. A little bit of lag involved. You love the old the lag bubble. Been present in F1 games for over 10 years now.
Yeah. Looks like we're going to get probably one more lap of the safety car here. I would be surprised if it's longer. Rundle has caught up to the end.
And this, of course, is going to be benefiting those guys on mediums, because they will be able to go slightly longer than they were originally scheduled to come in. Would have been interesting to see what someone who started on soft tyres would have done, whether they would have come in for a set of mediums under the safety car. Probably wouldn't have been ideal timing for them, as we were expecting the safety car in this lap. Be interesting to see if everyone can navigate turns 1 and 2, which we weren't able to do last time. It is a difficult corner, it has to be said. The sausage curves on the inside, if you clatter into those, you're going to be spat out into the sausage curves on the outside and potentially other cars, and of course the gravel there as well. As much as it is a very satisfying track to drive, it is very challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very challenging. It's very easy to overdo it, and the repercussions for overdoing it are varied depending on where you are on the track, but you are likely to come off with some kind of issue.
Yes, grass, gravel, and I nearly tried to mix walls and barriers there. We've got both of them. An unforgiving track, obviously, the tragic loss of Ayrton Senna back in '94, changes being made. We used to have, I don't know if you remember this, we used to have a chicane on the start-finish straight coming out of the final corner. You can still see it, I believe, as we have confirmation of the safety car in this lap, and we are going to get racing again. And I think for Geek and Matti Mumu, number one priority, get past Dasher in front.
Yeah, I do wonder how this restart is going to look like, because obviously tyre temperatures are going to be different now. Tyre wear is going to be slightly different as well. Dasher had a fantastic start at the start of the race. Can he do that again?
Yeah, he's not backing the pack up lows until we get to the final couple of corners. I think he's gone straight away. A very quick restart, has to be said, and Matti Mumu actually closer to the back of Geek than Geek was to the back of Dasher, but look at the slipstream effect. DRS very powerful in this game, not enabled of course at the minute. Geek is going to go for it around the outside of Dasher into turn one. We can't quite see it, and I think he backs out of it. No, he doesn't. He got past. I didn't see what happened. Geek getting through, beautiful move around the outside, and Dasher looks a little bit like a sitting duck at the moment. Maybe he should have warmed those tyres up a little bit more, because Matti Mumu and Joe are all over the back of him now. And look at Geek pounding away now. Nearly got the gap out to a second as we come through Tozer. Look at the trio of cars sat behind. CT holding off Deadeye for 5th and 6th. Jaraki 7th. Dylan Fernando, Charles Simmons and Alpha completing our top 10. Brilliant start though for Geek, getting in front of the driver he needed to get past.
Yeah, and so that now allows him to just run away from the rest of the pack, whilst Dasher holds up everybody else. Already just gone over a second on the timing board there for a moment, but as you can see, Dasher's holding up Matti Mumu right now, who clearly wants to get past. Maybe Matty's lacking a bit of pace, the qualifying not going quite his way. Joe not far behind also. Yeah, Dasher very much holding up the pack now as Matty goes for the overtake.
Beautifully done around the outside, like candy from a baby, it must be said. A little bit of battery involved. Is Dasher going to try and have another look down the inside into turn 2, thinks better of it and sticks behind for now. But that was job 1, get past the guy on hard tyres. Job 2, break out of DRS range, and Geek has done that perfectly, and he's not going to be dragging those cars along behind, although Matti Mumu will want to push as hard as he can to get back inside that 1 second window, as the DRS has mentioned previously. Incredibly powerful, and we're already seeing a little bit of a front group starting to form as the top 4 pull away from CT in 5th, who's holding on to that position pretty nicely, but Deadeye very close to the back of him. Then comes Jaraki. Alpha's made up some places. Those medium tyres looking very strong in the early stages compared to the hards. Bit of a poor exit from CT coming through Aqua Minerale. Deadeye forces his way to the inside. This is going to be a lovely move if he gets it done. Late on the brakes, takes the sausage curves nicely, and that was a textbook move to move up into 5th. And now Jaraki in the ghastly teal and purple car is going to have a look going down into Rivatsa. Is he close enough? Not quite. Going to sit behind for the remainder of this lap. Try and slipstream past down into turns 2 and 3. As DRS now enabled, and that is going to be the big factor. Can Matti Mumu break that 1 second window, or is he going to play leapfrog effectively with Dasher and Joe behind?
Yeah, I think Matty would have definitely wanted to have driven a little bit further away from Dasher than this. Definitely out of DRS range, as Geek had done with Matty. Geek already over 1 second away from Matti Mumu. Very impressive.
Joe will be desperate to get past Dasher as well. But to be fair, Matti Mumu struggling to pull that gap a little bit out at 0.6 of a second right now. They have managed to extend the gap between Joe and Deadeye to over 2 seconds now, as CT trying to cling on, but Deadeye looks to have the pace over that group behind, so we could have a little bit of a top 5 group, and then the rest sat behind. Jaraki, someone that you think would be capable of breaking out of that group as well, but he's got to get past CT, which with the DRS isn't going to be quite as difficult as it would have been on last year's game, as there is our first penalty, and there is Jaraki running very wide through Variante Outer. It only took 7 laps, half of which were safety car laps, but Dylan Fernando is the first driver of the 2023 Summer Series BUSR to pick up a corner cutting penalty. And if we look at the delta at the front, 1.1 seconds now between Geek and Matti Mumu. That gap's coming down.
Ever so slightly, and that was just after a straight, so perhaps Geek can extend the lead again through the next few corners.
Yeah, you can see there going down the main, I'm going to call it a straight, but it's not really that straight. A little bit of a DRS train forming from Deadeye back down to Dylan Fernando. Yeah, these guys need to try and get past. It seems like Deadeye's got the pace over them, but the DRS is so powerful that CT able to cling on, and that's going to be crucial. And, well, speaking of clinging on, Matti Mumi's done an excellent job of not only getting a decent distance between Dasher and between himself and Dasher behind, but he's just getting inside that 1 second window. And Geeku may have thought he'd managed to break away, done a 2013 Sebastian Vettel or a 2023 Max Verstappen, has been caught. And I think Matti Mumu, he's had a bit of a poor chicane there, so it's touch and go whether he's going to get the DRS. You can see the detection point they've just gone through. I don't think he managed to get it. Dasher and Joe have separated a little bit as well, so we're seeing a bit of space form between our leading quartet. Does Matti Mumu have DRS? No, he does not. There's going to be at least another lap. Dasher behind does, as does Joe. So we've got a little bit of, it's going to be a bit of cat and mouse at the moment. Who's going to be willing to sit it out, sit in the DRS? And who is going to try and make the big moves? As we see, Deadeye's lost a couple of places. And I think is that a double overtake from CT and Jaraki? Yes, it is. Deadeye losing 2 places going through Tamburello chicane. That would have been very exciting to watch. But CT back up into 5th. Jaraki threw up into 6th. And now Alpha all over the back of the blackened, what would you call that? Neon green, neon yellow car?
Neon yellow.
There? Yeah, neon yellow. Almost matching the medium tyres of the car behind. And this is going to be, I actually think this could be a really interesting scrap, as Jaraki looked a little bit slow through the Piratella, but Deadeye not able to capitalise on it, and Jaraki making sure he tries to stick inside the 1 second window of CT, as you can see, pushing very hard as he picks up a penalty for his troubles, and I think has just backed off a little bit there as well.
Yes, Yaram Doodle also picking up a penalty for multiple warnings. Not sure what those were, but 3 penalties, and we're not even 10 laps in.
Yes, 3 second penalties, I believe they were, for corner cutting infringements. Gap at the front has extended out to 1.4 seconds, so Matti Mumu, he got just about inside a second, now dropped back, and Dasher and Joe biting at the heels of the, I can't say what team he is, the bright green, lime green car, try and get that place. And Jaraki, with the help of DRS behind this group at the front, gets past CT into turns 2 and 3. Now Deadeye gets through. We've got some incredible racing going on in the midfield at the moment. CT loses another place, and I think, as I say, incredible racing, I think we've had some contact. CT has gone off maybe at the exit of the Tamburello chicane. We didn't quite catch it. He didn't look like he was in the grass or anything. Very easy to do though. If you're going side by side, it's so tight with the sausage curb as well. It's very difficult to navigate through there side by side. Well, side by side, I think they could have been 3 wide as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but down a lot of places. Down 4 places from the start. Dylan Fernando 6 places up from the start. Very nice. Jaraki up 2 places. Alpha up 4 places. Oh, and that was a very wide through that corner.
Yeah, he's all over the place now. I wonder if he didn't pick up a little bit of front wing damage. You can't really see it from the car, but it looked like he was understeering massively through those middle sector corners. And it's probably ruined his race. On the hard tyres, you probably can't go mediums to the end. And what was looking pretty promising is now turned into an absolute disaster. Will CT come into the pits, as that is Dasher getting past Matti Mumu? And that was the move we were talking about. It looked like it was happening, and he has managed to get it done. So are the hard tyres now starting to work a little bit better than those mediums? It took a little while for Dasher to get going in this race, but once he has, he's managed to get back past Matti Mumu and can set off after our race leader.
Yeah, there's a sizable gap, 2 seconds almost. between Dasher and Geek. So we'll have to see if he'll be able to catch him up. Geek is probably going to be pitting sometime in the next few laps. So this will be an interesting to see whether the undercut or overcut works.
Yeah, I think Matty Mumu's starting to struggle on those tyres potentially. Joe still there just inside a second behind them, hanging back, playing the long game you'd like to imagine. And as I say that, that is complete curse of the commentator as he picks up a corner cutting penalty, which is not going to be helpful unless the cars in front of him also get one. Doodle, who was towards the back, has just got past CT, who didn't pit at the end of that last lap, so obviously no damage, but goes off again. I think it's a little bit of a case of head lost at the moment. Struggling to keep it on the track, keep the emotions in check, as Matty Mumu re-overtakes Dasher, and that was very easy with the help of DRS and probably a little bit of overtake. And I think this could keep flip-flopping in the next few laps. And it's probably going to be pretty helpful as Deadeye gets past Jaraki for 5th place, the leader of the midfield. Look at that car going flying over the sausage curbs. That was Mad Dog and Alpha, I believe, making contact. It was the red car of Alpha who went... Oh, it was like he was on a rally special stage flying over those sausage curbs. He was bouncing all over the place. Suspension not going to be very happy about that. But what was looking like a promising race for him, I think he was 7th or 8th at the time of the incident, now down in 12th, as while that was going on, CT retired. I don't know if it was a crash or not. We didn't see too many yellow flags and obviously no safety car. So maybe as Jaraki gets the penalty as well, maybe it wasn't too bad a collision. It was actually just I hate to use the word, but a bit of a give up and retire because the race is all over. But I think it was a promising start for CT. Pace was good in qualifying. Pace was good in the early stages. Just got caught up in a very easy to do midfield accident.
Yeah, and I'm actually not sure who CT is. I don't think I've seen them before. Perhaps there was a slight name change that I'm unaware of. But if that's a rookie driver, that was a very promising start. Unfortunate the race didn't convert. But yeah, I'll look forward to seeing what they can do next week.
Yeah, and speaking of unexpected, that was Joe getting past Dasher, which I did not see coming. You'd think the hard tyres would be working better than the mediums at this point. Matty Mumu and Joe seemingly having the pace to keep Dasher behind, and then the rest as they continue to eke into that lead of Geek, which was at one stage over 2 seconds as Joe gets a little bit out of shape going through the Piratella. It's now down to 1.4 seconds, so they're coming back. Maybe Geek's used a little bit too much of his tyres and is also starting to struggle. The gap behind this leading quartet is 7 seconds now, back to Deadeye, also on the hard tyres like Dasher in front. And Jaraki sat behind as well, just managing to hold on to the DRS. Then we've got Rundle, Mad Dog battling over 7th and 8th. So the gap now really coming down, and Geek is inside 1 second. As he backed off a little bit, he must have had a little bit of a mistake going through the final couple of corners as Mad Dog gets past Rundle coming out of the Variante Alta. As Rundle makes a mistake again, I think, going through the final couple of corners. They're going to battle again, though, coming down the main straight. Here we go, DRS. This is going to be extremely straightforward for Rundle, who's coming past. And what was a difficult start? I think he was the car that got turned round through turn 1 and 2 on the opening lap. Back up into 7th, battling away with Mad Dog. Just going back to that battle at the front, Geek, he lost a lot of time, but he seems to have gained it back again. Or, well, it seems to be fluctuating quite a lot between 1.4 seconds, and we saw it go as low as 8 tenths.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Maybe he went too aggressive with the start and used up his tyres a bit too much, leaving him quite vulnerable in some of these slower corners.
Yeah, he's definitely been caught, though, because the gap now is at 9 tenths, and you would expect, barring a disaster through the Variante Alta, that Matty Mumu is going to get some DRS, and you can see there 9-1-8, now into 8 tenths, so we're definitely going to get some DRS battles coming up as Deadeye in 5th picks up a penalty, and that might just encourage Jaraki behind to try and get back within 1 second, because those 2 penalties have now been wiped out. But this is the battle we want to look at. Anyone peeling off into the pits? Yes, Games Geek is in. Geek is into the pits, obviously had enough of those medium tyres. I'm surprised nobody followed him in behind. He's going for the undercut, and we'll have to see how this works out for him. The 3 cars behind all had DRS, so don't expect any overtakes down the straight for them. But this is the first of the front runners to blink.
and he's going on to the
the
hard
hard
tire
tyres,
strategy, so going to the end now. It's kind of expected, to be honest. Going for the one-stop strategy here, medium to hard. The hard runners will probably be going hard to medium in another maybe 5 or so laps.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe 18 or 19. We might see this guy's come in, and we've just been informed that CT is Callum Teasdale, who we do actually know about.
Yes.
And is someone who
Good
is
to know.
very quick. So expect to see him back in the top 10 for next week's race. But Joe pushing very hard. That is his second penalty, up to 6 seconds now. And you have to feel that probably rules him out of contention for this race win.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. He was, he was catching up there, I think, for a bit. But with 6 seconds of penalties, I'm not sure if there's any chance.
He's into the pits. Bonjour, Quebec. On the halo, he's going to be saying bonjour to his pit crew and a new set of hard compound tyres. On they go. Looks like a pretty decent stop. Deadeye coming in behind on the hard tyres, so he's going for an undercut to stick on a set of mediums. But Joe, I think it was obvious that he was going to come in there. Those tyres looked past their best, it has to be said, struggling to keep up with Matimumu in front. Dash is going to be pushing very hard to see what's left on those hard compound tyres. Geek has managed to rejoin pretty comfortably, actually, ahead of Joe. I think the gap's nearly 3 seconds. Yeah, it is. So the undercut, incredibly powerful. That will not be good news to the ears of Matimumu and Dasher. Look at this, though, going down into the Variante Villeneuve. Brilliant move from Doodle and Rogue, battling very hard still on the outside as we come into Tozer of turn 7. Doodle on the inside should be able to hold on to that position for the time being, but Rogue, can he get the old switcheroo going to try and get back past up the inside? No, he can't. Will he sit behind for the run up to the Piratelli? Yes, he will. But that undercut was crazy. He's got nearly 3 seconds now between Geek and Joe. The gap was only about 2 seconds, or less than that, when he came in. Oh, and a poor exit through Aqua Minerale there, and Doodle's going to be trying to hold on to this position. We've got 3 cars separated by micrometers. Pushed off the track goes the red and black car. I think that's Rogue who was pushed off. Joe now trying to fly through the middle of both of them. Matimumu, who was the race leader, into the pits. Joe trying to hold on to these cars now. Doesn't want to have to waste time battling them, but he's been held up a little bit because they're battling so hard, and they provided us with some excellent action on that lap. And Geek and Matimumu into the pits. Will he be in front of Joe? How strong is the undercut? Where is that bright green car? There it is. Matimumu coming out of the pits is going to hold on to that position from Joe, but going to have to warm the tyres up, and this is going to be Joe's best opportunity, you think, to try and get back past.
Yeah, Matty isn't that far behind Geek, actually. You can catch up here, but he still needs to warm up those tyres, as you said. Joe looks like he's catching up slowly, down to 4/10 now, and then out of the corner it's up to 6. So, what do I know?
Well, you say about that gap is now it's 4.5 seconds nearly. So the undercut from Geek, absolute mastermind of a strategy. He's put a lot of distance between himself and the cars he was racing before the pit stop, and that is not going to be good news for Dasher, who obviously on the hard tyres is going to be going long into this race. And speak of the devil, in comes Dasher, so must have seen that the undercut has been incredibly strong. Geek has caught up to the back of Charles Simmons, who you would expect on those medium tyres, 15 laps done, is going to be coming into the pits. Jaraki in as well from second, so we'll have to see where he comes out with respect to Deadeye. That was the battle going on for 5th earlier in the Grand Prix. Yes, Simmons into the pits. 5-second penalty though, that is a slam dunk. Not going to be happy with that. Where is Geek? There he is, going past. Matimumu, is he going to be coming through? Look at these two coming through. Dasher hasn't lost too much ground compared to these two. I think Joe's going to be having a look at the inside or the outside. Through they go, through turns 2 and 3. Yes, he does. Gets through. Beautiful move. They managed to navigate it cleanly and fairly. Is Matimumu going to think about an outrageous move through Villeneuve and up to Tosa? No. I think Joe's got that manoeuvre done, but with the 6-second penalty, he's going to be dropping back behind them.
Yeah, and actually I'm quite surprised Dasher went into the pits now. He put on the medium tyres, as he would, but he's still got 14 laps to go. I'm not sure how well they're going to hold out until the end of the race.
I think it may have been not a panicked decision, but he must have seen the gap between Geek and Matimumu and Joe, which has got up to 4 seconds. Dasher is a further 1.5 back from Joe, so that's nearly 6 seconds or 5.5 seconds of gap. Got to get onto those tyres early, use the performance. The problem is he has to overtake these 2 cars in front of him, and they're squabbling very hard between themselves. So I think it could be a case of that strategy call has won Geek the race, and we're only on lap 18.
Yeah, the battling here is going to slow both of the cars down, and that'll only allow Geek to get further and further ahead.
Back through goes Matty Mumu, and I think we could be seeing this for the rest of the race with an extra little bit of Dasher spice thrown in as they battle over 2nd, 3rd and 4th. The smart thing you think to do in this scenario would be using the DRS just to try and propel each other forward and close that gap to Geek. Work together for the next 5 or 6 laps or so. See what progress can be made and then evaluate the situation from there. The problem is Dasher on those brand new mediums is going to be absolutely rapid and chomping at the bit to get past both of these guys. Joe under pressure, you can see through Aqua Minerale coming up to the Variante Outer. Lost a little bit of time to Matty Mumu. Is that tyre advantage that Matty Mumu's got starting to show? It's only 1 lap, but 1 lap can be quite a lot, you know, in this game. It can be sort of 3 or 4%, which if you're inside 10%, that's going to be a lot. Dasher very close as they come up to the Rivazza curves. Joe's got to make sure he's still got DRS to have a line of defence, but I think he's going to be pretty helpless as they come out of the final corner onto the main straight. Gap at the front is down to 3.8 seconds. Matty Mumu pushing hard. Through goes Dasher. That is going to be a very easy manoeuvre up into the podium places once again. And it's now going to be a case of whether these 3 can catch Geek in front. You'd think Matty Mumu, logically, would try and use the early pace of the medium tyres that Dasher's got on. As you can see, his ERS light flashing there. He must have burnt a lot of battery to get past Joe. But you use the pace of the mediums, then get past him later on in the race when your tyres are better, and then try and catch up with Geek. But look at Dasher, so much quicker at this stage than all the cars around him. Absolutely flying as we come through Aqua Minerale, all over the gearbox of that green, lime green and silver car of Matty Mumu with the Green Among Us character as his driver logo coming through the Variante Outer. I think this is going to be a very straightforward pass for Dasher, and they are catching Geek out front. Geek maybe just trying to preserve those tyres. The gap's down to 3.5 seconds now, so they've pulled a second back in the 4 or 5 laps since the pit stop window. And I think this is going to be like taking candy from a baby. Here we go, out of the final corner, DRS open, probably a little bit of overtake. Fastest lap of the race, and on those medium tyres, not even a contest as Dasher moves back up into 2nd place and now can set his sights on the race leader. There's still quite a bit of work to be done, and he won't mind dragging the cars behind with him, but it's going to be quite the test to see if these 4 can catch up to our race leader.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge because Geek has that pace. He's probably been pulling back, as you said, in the last few laps to conserve his tyres. But the problem that I can see now is Dasher will be very aggressive to catch up to Geek, and he's going to burn up his tyres rather quick, I think.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to push pretty hard to close that 3-second gap. It's not going to be easy because Geek, as we know, a very quick driver. Let's take a look further down the field, though. Deadeye, who was, I think he was about 8 seconds behind this trio battling over second, now got that down to 4.5 seconds on the medium tyre and catching this group as well. Pace looking good for Dash, who's managed to be done with Jaraki, who is battling earlier, and actually Jaraki behind Mad Dog, the car behind. So that overcut that Jaraki went for really not working and costing him a potential P5 in this race. Mad Dog, one of only 4 drivers yet to get a corner cutting penalty. You can see there we've got Dylan Fernando with 9, Charles Simmons with 5, Doodle, Deadeye and Joe with 6, and then a whole host of drivers with 3. This is going to be a move though for Jaraki, getting past Mad Dog up into 6th place. We're seeing a lot of DRS overtakes, lots of very easy DRS overtakes, and next up will be Rundle to try and have a go at the Mad Dog.
Yeah, Mad Dog is one of the fan favourites, and as you mentioned earlier, he did get caught up in the mess that was the very first corner. So I think he'll be quite upset that he's not further towards the top, especially that he hasn't picked up any penalties yet. But overall, this has been a decent recovery, up in 7th place at the moment. And if he doesn't lose too much time, he'll be up into 6th place after the penalties have been applied.
Yeah, I think it was a difficult qualifying session for Mad Dog, but has managed to pull it back in the race and is looking at some fairly decent points.
Ooh. Never mind. That looked like he went very wide, but that was just netcode stuff, I think.
Yeah, I had a bit of a screen freeze there, so I wasn't able to see what's going on. It looked like cars lagging around all over the place. Out in front, Dasher 2.5 seconds now behind Geek, with Matty Mumu being towed along very nicely behind the maroon car, I think it is, of Dasher. Joe's just been dropped out of DRS range, over a second back now, so it looks like it's going to be a battle of the trio at the front. The 4 have become 3. Well, no, Joe's still hanging on, but that 6-second penalty really going to cost him dear. And if Geek isn't preserving his tyres at the moment, this is going to be fairly alarming, because Dasher and Matty Mumu and Joe closing at quite a rapid pace. So you can see there, the gap is under 2 seconds. Matty Mumu, I think, is very content just to sit behind Dasher as he uses the pace of those medium tyres to catch up to Geek in front, as it looked like Dash was going slightly deep into Ravazza, but we have got a few lag issues at the moment. Teething issues with the brand new game, of course. A little bit of netcode issues. Maybe someone's turned the lag switch on, who knows?
I think perhaps it's more of a my internet provider issue at the moment. Apologies for any frames dropped on stream.
Yeah, I think, we can go 50-50 if you want. You don't have to take all the blame.
I would very much like to blame the game.
Order, yes, like we all do, because it usually is the game's fault. Look at this, though. I think Dash is going to be inside 1 second very shortly behind Geek. And with Joe managing to hold on, he's not going to win this race unless the 3 cars in front of him collide. But we could have a 4-way scrap for the win in the opening race of the season. What a curtain raiser that would be to get us underway. I think it's almost inevitable at this point as well, because Dasher 1.1, is he going to get the DRS? We'll see what the delta time is as we go over the detection point. Second penalty of the race for Jericho moves up to 6 seconds. I don't quite think Dasher managed to get within 1 second there, so we're going to have to wait another lap for the DRS train for the DRS choo-choo train to begin. He is inside a second now, though, and you can see the ERS light flashing, so burning a lot of battery, pushing exceptionally hard to catch up to the race leader, and he has now caught up and, crucially, brought the 2 cars behind along with him.
Yeah, bringing the 2 cars behind him is quite important. So in these last few laps of the race, last 7 laps, anything could still happen because that gap has been closed now, and Geek will need to start pushing again, like right now.
Yeah, I don't know how much more he's got. He's got older tyres than all of the cars behind him. And they're probably not going to be at their best at this point. 7 laps to go. Geek's going to be under a bit of pressure here from Dasher and Matty Mumu especially. And Joe could get in there just to, mix things up a bit, cause a bit of calculated chaos, which we like to see. Further back, Deadeye's dropped off quite a bit from this group. So it is only going to be 4 rather than 5. Deadeye now 8 seconds back, plus that 6-second penalty. Jarek is pulled away from Mad Dog and Rundle. We aren't really seeing too many close battles on the track, apart from the battle for the race lead. Look at all of these 4 cars, all with DRS on each other. You could put a blanket over them. They're so close. And I think we're going to have our first move for the lead in over 10 laps. Here comes Dasher, DRS open, both the ERS lights flashing. So they've got not a lot of battery left, burning it to try and defend and attack. Through goes Dasher on the medium tyres. And that is the race lead for our pole sitter, getting back ahead of Geek. And that could be crucial, because if he can pull away and use what life is left for those medium tyres, this could be a done deal.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see here. medium tires have been very good so far for Dasher right now. Can they stay good in these last 6 laps? That's the next question.
Yeah, these hard tyre runners behind have just got to try and make it, or take the game deep, as is said in the likes of football, cricket, and darts. They've got to keep Dasher honest in front, because they know it's going to come back to them later in the race. The hard tyres are going to start to get better, the medium tyres are going to drop off, but Dasher has very nearly broken 1 second to the cars behind, and I think he has, as Jareki picks up a third penalty. That's 9 seconds now worth of penalties. He's going to lose quite a bit of ground, unfortunately, because of that. And Geek could be under pressure now from Matty Mumu. I don't know, as it looked like Joe went quite wide out of the final couple of corners. Is Matty Mumu going to get the DRS on Geek? It's quite hard to see at the moment. We are having a few frame issues, unfortunately. I don't think Matty Mumu is going to be close enough to make that move into the Tamburello chicane. And no, it's not. So it's as we were. Dasher, Geek, Matty and Joe.
Yeah, Joe's quite a bit behind there. I'm not sure if he'll be able to catch up to gain any on-track positions, but even if he does, that 6-second penalty is not going away anytime soon.
The good thing for Joe is the gap behind to Deadeye, even without the 6-second penalties that he's got, is over 8.5 seconds, nearly 9 seconds now. So it is probably going to be 4th place for Joe in this race, which is a good start to the season, of course. Would like to get a little bit more, but just needs to tidy up a little bit on those track extensions, which admittedly is very hard to do because it can be quite harsh around this track. Geek has managed just to stick inside that DRS range and actually pulled a little bit of time back against our race leader Dash. All of these guys still so close together. Look at the deltas. Half a second between each car, 2 seconds covering the top 4. What a start to the season we have had, and I think we're going to get another move for the lead, are we, through the kink of turn 1 and into turns 2, 3 and 4. Tamburello. Geek has lost a little bit actually coming through the Ravazza, so isn't as close as he would have liked, and actually is going to have to be looking in his mirrors at Matty Mumu, but I don't think anyone's quite close enough together. The DRS train not helping us at the moment for trying to get that action late on. Are we going to see any flip-flopping of positions later on? We'll have to see.
This leading pack is just so far ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 as they come through Toza, through the kink of 8 and up to turn 9 of Peratella. Joe very close to the back of Matty Mumu coming through Toza. Former teammates, of course, on last year's game, driving for McLaren, winning the Constructors' Championship, if I remember that correctly. Coming through Aqua Minerale now. Look at them, so close together. As Matty Mumu, I think, made a little bit of a mistake there, unless it was a bit of netcode, I think it might have been. Oh, and Joe again, it looked like he had a dive down the inside. It's quite hard to see because we are getting that little bit of lag, but Matty Mumu definitely under a lot of pressure from Joe behind. Geek 6-7 tenths behind our race leader at the moment. Dasher, who's continuing just to hang on out front at the moment, do just enough to keep Geek at arm's length at the moment, and it's going to be the 3 cars behind Dasher who are going to be squabbling the most, I believe, because Geek's tyres are going to be feeling quite average at this point. I think he's got 3 or 4 lap older tyres than the cars around him. Going to be struggling at this point. But look at the DRS. Geek close in a lot. Joe gets very close to the back of Matty Mumu through turns 2 and 3, but they managed to continue on. Is this a little bit of a stalemate at the moment? Oh, as it looked like Dasher went off there. Did he go off there? I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did.
The frame, yeah, it's very difficult to see what's going on. Apologies for people who are a little bit confused about what is happening. It looks like Matty Mumu is shaping for a move on Geek going through Piratella, but thinks better of it for now. As they go through the very ante-alta. Still in the order they were when they caught up. Dasher managing to hold on. I think he's got that under control. Unless those medium tyres go off dramatically, it's going to have to be Matty Mumu who makes the move on Geek, who you've got to be thinking is struggling with those hard tyres right now. They've been on for 14 or 15 laps so far. Going to be difficult to keep them going. He had to push a lot as well. 15 laps. Matty Mumu 13, Joe 14. Dasher with the newest tyre of course, since he started on the hard, going a bit longer. His tyres are also going to be struggling though as well, so it's almost like everyone's going to converge right at the end of that race. Is that a car off? No, it is not. I thought Geek went into the gravel there on our screen, but he didn't. And we continue as we were. Let's look away from this battle because it is slightly difficult to gauge what's going on at the moment. And look further down, Deadeye dropped to 10.5 seconds behind this group at the moment. I think he's got a 6-second penalty, so we'll finish in P5 because Jaraki's got slightly more penalties. Mad Dog will move up into 6th if it stays as we are at the moment. Jaraki's got 9 seconds of penalties. Will drop behind Mad Dog into 7th. Has been catching Deadeye though throughout the majority of this stint actually, so pretty good pace there. Look at Joe and Matty Moon getting very close on the entry to the Variante Alta. Battling away hard. Can anyone make that move, make that dive bomb to try and get alongside? They're still very close together. Dirty Air not affecting them too much. It's just, can the DRS be powerful enough to get one of them through? Rundle picks up a penalty as we come on to start the penultimate lap. Matty Moon looks very close to the back of Geek as we come across the line and overtaking use. I think he's going to have a look around the outside. Is he? No, he's not. And it's actually a move for the lead, in fact. Geek, I didn't quite see it as they came out of the final corner. Geek has got back past Dasher. Matty Moomoo's got past Dasher as well now. It's impossible to see what's going on. But we have had a complete switch up of the top 3. Dasher goes from 1st to 3rd in the matter of 5 seconds. Are those medium tyres really starting to drop off now? I think they might be. And this looks like a straight fight now between Geek and Matty Moomoo as we enter the final lap and a half of this race.
Yeah, that's the worry I had when I said Dasher pitted too early. I was thinking he needs another 2 or 3 laps on the hards before he can pit for the mediums, and that looks like that's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah, you can see he's struggling to keep up a little bit. Got Joe all over the back of him now. It looks like it's going to be Matty Moomoo versus Geek into turn 1 as Dasher now picks up a penalty. That is going to be his race run. He is going to, well, he is not going to win this race. We've got a yellow flag in turns 1 and 2. I think there's a yellow car off through turn 4 in the gravel there. But this is the moment now. Matty Moomoo to try and win this race and get past Geek. You said it was going to be Geek and Dasher at the front in qualifying. I said it was going to be Matty Moomoo. We were correct, but which one will it be? Has he got the overspeed and the DRS and the slipstream? Moves to the right-hand side of the track. Round the outside he goes. Has he got the speed to go round the outside clear enough? Yes, he does. Beautifully done. Brilliant respect and racing between the two of them. Matty Moomoo is up into the lead. Dasher trying to fight back to try and get back up into 2nd place. Get past Games Geek. It looked like there might have been a little bit of wheel banging as they went through the Variante Villeneuve, but it is Matty Moomoo into the lead of this race. You can see the ERS light flashing on all 4 of those cars. Drained the batteries. They push incredibly hard to try and win the season opener. What a start to the season it's been. Is Geek having a look around the outside of Piratella? No, it's not. And it's going to be Matty Moomoo from Geek, from Dasher and Joe. And I think that's what we're going to end the race with.
That is a very good possibility. I wonder if Geek will go for one more thing. Dasher is up 1.
Dasher down the inside. Oh, we've got cars all over the place in the background, actually. I think there might have been a little bit of a late lunge from Dasher up the inside of Geek. Caught both of them out. Joe's now got in front. Dasher, I think, may have some damage to report. But it's going to be Matty Moomoo. Started from 3rd, I believe. Managed to get up to win the season opener here at Imola in a crazy end to the race. He is going to win. Joe will cross the line. Oh, hang on a minute. It's just completely changed. Geek ended up in 2nd ahead of Dasher and Joe. All the positions seemed to swap as we ran over the line. I thought Joe was in 2nd for the time being. He must have had more penalties than Dasher in the end. Deadeye comes home a very lonely 5th in the end. Mad Dog was 7th on track, gets lifted because of Jaraki's penalties. Simmons, Doodle and Alpha will complete the top 10 on the road. We'll have to wait for those post-race penalties to be applied. Charles Simmons, not someone I believe I've seen in the BUSR previously, so that's a very solid debut race, if it is his debut race, to come home in 7th. Doodle, the Ministry of Defence, as we coined him from Monza on F122, will come home in 9th, and it'll be Alpha to finish off the top 10 over the line. Does Rundle pick up any places from penalties? It's actually, look at that, side by side over the line. Dylan, Fernando and Rundle. Fernando obviously had a few more penalties, and it was Rundle who ended up 11th, and it'll be Rogue who comes across the line in 13th of our 13 runners. But yes, Matti Mumu, the race winner. It was a race based on strategy, patience, eking out your tyres, and in the end, Matti Mumu came through to win it.
Yeah, very interesting race. Your prediction with Matty being at the top there was absolutely correct, as we see some tires flying off here, and I think that's our cue to probably switch to cameras.
Yes, I think that crash there sums up Rogue's race a little bit. Seeing with my hands on my head there, it was quite a crash to go over the line with. But yes, interesting race. All four of our leading contenders jostling away throughout the race. We had overtakes throughout from the midfield, which we weren't able to catch because the battle at the front was so intense. Dasher will probably feel a little bit hard done by, especially with that penalty that probably cost him the race win in the end. Because Matimu and Joe used the pace that he had on those medium tyres to bring them towards the front, and that's ultimately what won Matimu the race. We thought Geek had done it amazingly with that undercut, gained 4.5 seconds on his rivals, wasn't able to keep that pace up, probably due to Dasher dragging everyone along. But yeah, what a way to start the season.
Yeah, very intense race, very exciting things. What's the track next week? Because as I said when we started, Imola's a very good track, and I hope that the rest of the season is going to be as exciting track-wise.
Oh,
because yeah, Imola, I think just the fact we're playing on Imola was probably one of the biggest factors towards today.
Yeah, well, we should get some really good action next week as well, because it is the Austrian Grand Prix plus a sprint race for you to look forward to as well. Austria, fantastic track on the game as well. Great overtaking, very difficult track limits, high speed. Tyre wear will play a factor again. So I think you guys can look forward to another, hopefully another big battle for the lead. I think we're getting ready, though, for our interviewees.
So who do we want? Geek, Dasher, and Matty.
Top three.
Yeah, top three.
Yeah. Top three to join us for interviews to end the race. We'll start off with the driver who finished in third, which I believe was Dasher. So we'll wait to get those guys in. Yeah, let's look ahead to next week quickly before the interview start. Austria, you a fan of that track? I know it's one of my favourites personally.
Yeah, I very much like the track. I think it's got some really good overtaking. I would say it's perhaps a little short, but it's a very fun track.
Yeah, it could be seen as a little bit short, but yeah, great for action. We had a good race there in real life, of course, last week. So hopefully we're able to continue with that. I think our interviewees are ready to come in, and it's going to be Dasher that I think we go with first. Our third place recipient, the bronze medal recipient, who we're going to bring in just a moment.
Yep. Welcome, Dasher.
Hello, Dasher.
Hello.
Sum up the race then. You were on the alternate strategy compared to the guys around you starting on the hards, qualified on pole, ended up P3. How would you summarise that?
Mine to win, I think. I think that's the only way to describe it. Obviously, I started on the hards, the slower tyre, and I followed really well. I mean, Geek pulled out a little bit, and then he got that monster undercut. But once I was on the mediums, I was flying, got past him, and then I just couldn't pull out of the DRS. And by that point, my mediums just had no more rubber on them, and that's the end of that.
Were you a little bit conflicted on when to come in? Like, did you know that Geek had got that massive undercut? I think he was 4.5 seconds ahead of Matty and Joe when they came out of the pit. So were you wary of that when you came in?
No. I mean, I knew it was definitely possible, but to be honest, my main focus was try and get past Matty and Joe fast, because those mediums on the low fuel are just rapid. And all I needed to do was get past. And once I was past, then I got up Geek in like 4 or 5 laps with a 4-second lead. So no, it was never really a worry.
Yeah, the pace was definitely there. I mean, 4.5 seconds, caught that pretty quickly in the end, got past, and it just sort of fell away a little bit, the tyres at the end. But a very solid way to start the season. Pole position, of course, as well. So should be set you up nicely for the rest of the season.
Dash a quality merchant. Remember it.
So you pitted from hards to mediums. Would you say your medium tires were like pretty gone towards the end of the race? Because I was thinking you perhaps pitted maybe 2 laps too early, and that's what it kind of looked like in the race, where after in the last final 2 laps, you lost it a little.
So generally on the so without the safety car, generally you want to pit lap 17, which is when I did pit. And compared to the hards, but where the safety car was, they just held out their mediums longer, so they could extend their medium stint. So their hard stint was shorter than mine. But to be honest, just the mediums are so fast, you can't just sit on those old wearing hards towards the end. So it's just a risk you have to take. And because I didn't pull out a DRS when I had the chance from Geek, then I got punished for it, and that's all it is really. I think I made the right call, just the wrong execution.
Right. Well, yeah, very good race from you today.
A very good start, yeah.
Thank you.
Best of luck in the next week, when you'll be in Austria. Any thoughts on Austria, real
We'll
quick?
be in Qatar. We're gonna be in Qatar.
Will we?
Yes.
Oh.
We've been
That
given
was
wrong
changed from
information then.
classified.
I believe the NSC website is wrong. We should be at Qatar in the F1SC calendar.
Well, that's something new for everyone to look forward to.
And I don't know what your track 4 is. Well, that's definitely Monaco instead of whatever it is. But around
Okay.
Qatar, the train track of a race. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking to us, and good luck then, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Right. Up next,
Uh,
we'll have Geek.
second place, yes.
Hello and welcome.
Hello, you cut out a tiny bit then.
Yes, my internet is just doing its internet things. Apologies for any dropped frames on stream again.
It's fine.
So, summarize your race. How did it go?
Incredibly sweaty. My shirt is literally sticking to my back right now. It's boiling in my room. I mean, quali went decently. Didn't get the best launch off the line though. One thing I definitely did not expect was a VSC or a safety car lap 1. But looking at the amount of people who pulled into the pits, I'm guessing there was just some wheel banging. A bunch of end plates came off of wings, so there was that. I knew Dasher did a really good race restart, but to make my strategy work, I just had to get past him. So burnt the ERS, used the slipstream, got by, and was just hoping to hold on to the lead really. However, just the deg on the mediums was really bad. The gap closed back down, so boxed early to try and get the undercut successfully performed, which to a degree I did. It was just the same story on the hards then. Just the deg kicked in, and I just lost all pace and consistency with lockups here and there. And then the fight at the end was, I loved that fight at the end. Matty was going for it on the second to last lap. I was planning to go for it on the final lap, but had no ERS, so just had no choice but to go for it and then defend like mad. But yeah, sadly you got through, but still just really fun race overall. Just I love that.
Were you surprised about how powerful the undercut was? I mean, everyone was right behind you when you came in, and then when everyone came out, it was 4.5, nearly 5 seconds. Was that the game plan from the start?
Yeah, I mean, we did a bit of a practice race last night, and just looking from the actual graphs before we even load in onto the grid, you could just see the deg on the mediums just fall off really quickly, and just the pace and the wear just went downhill. And for me anyway, I think it was setup related possibly, or just a skill issue because I'm bad. Just the deg on the mediums was that bad. I just wanted to get them off and onto the hards, which were just more consistent towards the end. So I was hoping I could just pull out a gap and just cruise home really.
Yeah, almost worked. Got within, I think you were 2 laps away from winning it, so
Yeah,
probably, well, it
so
definitely
close.
bodes well. Yeah, bodes well for the rest of the season. And speaking of that, what are the ambitions? Because the spring series on 22 probably didn't quite go your way. I think that's
Oh yeah, Christ, like
yeah,
that was worse than my first season in BUSR itself. No, nah, yeah, I think it was a mixture of just uni bits and pieces and just personal things getting in the way. Um, yeah, just a mixture of that, and then yeah, I think just the constant mistakes and the inconsistency was just really, really bad.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, I
yeah.
think it is great for maybe not great for your competitors, but great for us as viewers to see you back on a full form.
Oh yeah, it feels great to be back. Like, now I'm hoping I can just get that consistency and consistently fight at the top now. Um, Unfortunately for me, I won't have any drop rounds as I may be absent from Brazil, but that just adds to the fun factor and no mistakes. So let's go for it.
Hopefully, a prosperous season to come. Then,
Oh, fingers crossed, yeah.
Oh,
hopefully.
First race curse as well. Who
yeah.
knows what happens?
Well, it looks really good today, and thank you for coming to talk to us. And best of luck in the upcoming weeks.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And finally, our race winner coming in now, Matty Mumu. Congratulations on the race. How do you feel?
It was quite the race. I quite enjoyed it with the four of us. It was just nice to not crash into anyone as I did for the last few races of spring, but yeah, it was a good race.
What was the tactic after you came in? So obviously you lost about 5 seconds with the undercut that Geek got. Was the tactic to use the pace that Dash had on the mediums and then leapfrog him towards the end to win the race? Because if that was the plan, it was executed perfectly.
um, I didn't think it would play out quite how it did, but I think because I had 2 lap fresher hard tires, then I was going to see what I could do, if anything, but then that just quickly became apparent that no, I couldn't do anything. So Dasher went through and quickly closed the gap because DRS is lovely and overpowered in this game. But yeah, then we caught up to Geek, had the lovely train of the four of us, and I somehow capitalized on everything to pull out and get the win.
Was it difficult to try and navigate that train? Because I think we had 4 or 5 laps where the four of you were just staying in the same order and then all sort of kicked off with on the penultimate lap, I think.
I think all four of us have now had experience with those sorts of trains, and we sort of left enough of a gap, around half a second, between all four of us in case anything happened to the car ahead. Like if one of us made a mistake, then we'd be fine. But I think the main thing was we were all conserving as much as we could for the last penultimate lap to then hopefully be in second place heading onto the final lap to overtake and get the win. But yeah, it was just a standard DRS train race, and they happen from time to time.
Championship wise, do you think would you categorize yourself as the favourite after that start? I know that's quite a pressing question, but
Um, no, pretty much. I came into this race with the intention of, well, like with a target of a podium, not even a win like I used to. But yeah, if I got a podium, then I'd be happy. And even until about like lap 30, when we finally caught up Geek, I was still just thinking, okay, third will do because Dash is on mediums and Geek's quicker than me. But I still need to put in a few more hours. I think I still only have about 15 on this game compared to some others who have 45 and 60. But yeah, I'm not thinking about the championship after one race.
it's fair enough. We don't want to look too far into the future, but was the ideal start, of course, and even if you were slightly under practiced, I think that is not a good sign for the rest of the grid for the rest of the season.
We'll see what happens in the future races, but I obviously know that Joe's annoyed with his track limit penalties, and he obviously has lots more hours in this game, and Geek was obviously, I'd say, the quickest on pure pace today, so I mean, it was just nice to have a little battle with the four of us again. It feels like it's been a while since that happened.
4-way fight for the rest of the season? I mean, I'm down if that's what's going to happen.
I mean, yeah, as long as it's not more boring DRS trades, but we'll see.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you here. What quickly? What's your thought on next week?
Next week is Qatar, which is
As
probably
we've
the track
heard.
that I have done. Yes, it's probably the track I've played the most on this game because it's new and not full of casinos, but it has a nice flow to it. But by the looks of it, it will be another DRS tradie type race because it only has one straight and it's all sort of fast corners with no heavy braking zones. But we'll see. I'm sure it'll be a fun race regardless, and it's nice to have a new track on the calendar.
Right. Well,
Definitely, yeah.
thank you for coming in here today. Congratulations on the race again, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
All
What a
right.
start.
Yeah, fantastic start to the new season here. Very exciting. I can't wait until next week.
Yes, Qatar, not Austria, Qatar. From my experience playing it, tyre wear is going to be a big factor. Yeah, I think we could have a really interesting race. Maybe a little bit more stalematey than we saw this evening at Imola. I think the overtaking might not be quite as strong, although we do have that massive main straight, which, if the DRS continues to be as powerful as it was today, we could see a lot of flip-flopping of positions. But yeah, I think that could be a really interesting one.
Yeah, so stay tuned again for next week. Also, stay tuned for our other championships. We have ACC on Mondays. We have iRacing on Thursdays. Yes, I can count days. And, of course, F1 on Saturdays, all at the same time, starting at 7. Additionally, we also run a Dirt Rally 2.0 championship, which unfortunately doesn't get streamed, but it's a great championship. If you're interested in any of our championships and want to participate, pretty much everything apart from F1 is open to, well, just about everyone. So if you want to come in and try it out, come into our Discord, busr.gg/Discord. Come out, have a great time. It's a great community, and who knows, maybe you'll be featured in one of these interviews for one of our other games, not F1. And also, big thanks to Special Effect for being our partners here. And yeah, I think that's everything I needed to say. Final thoughts.
Yeah.
Final thoughts.
Fun. I think
Yes.
that's the word I'd use to summarize it. Fun. New game. The overtaking physics seem to be a little bit better. We seem to be able to race a little bit more. More strategy involved. I think it only bodes well for the next 5 weeks of racing.
Absolutely. So stay tuned for more and come and hang out with us and have a great time. Thank you for joining today. I've been Doom.
I've been Tom.
Yeah. And we'll see you next time. That'll be Monday. Bye-bye.